Show. This is a Wednesday night. Tonight, we're glad to welcome back our former regular. She's back tonight, Pete Wilbur, one of our most popular co-hosts here on the Buddy Martin Show. I'm Buddy Martin. We'll also have a rundown of the recruiting. My goodness, if you like recruiting, feast up, Gator fans. Today, another one drops. 4-star cornerback. The Florida Gators under Billy Napier is killing it, just like we told you they would. It's big stuff. And if you like recruiting or don't like recruiting, it's still a very important thing. Kevin Brockway knows a little bit about it. I know a little bit about it. We're going to talk about it some. And then Pete Wilbur, who follows it closer than us, she'll come along and coach us up on that as well. So you don't have to know all the details. All you have to know is that when good players come to Florida, good things do happen. So you want to be sure and catch that. It's one of the biggest recruiting periods I've seen since Urban Meyer was here in Florida. And I don't know all the players, but even I can tell that it looks like they got a really good batch. And there's more to come. Stay tuned. The Buddy Martin Show is next. I'll tell you all about it right here. Tell your friends and neighbors we are on the air.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
A lot of stuff happening tonight. Two SEC teams battling out now in the College World Series tonight. We'll see if LSU rises up in this one or what happens there. Meanwhile, you can't get around the fact that it's raining recruits. Today, Billy Napier scored big. 4-star cornerback C.J. Bronaugh decommitted from Nebraska and committed to Florida. If you read the list, and anybody can read it, you'll see how big this is. 6'1", 175 from Windermere, decommitted to Nebraska. And now he joins a class which is now ranked better and better all the time. 2006, and Bronaugh is the number 6 corner in the class, and he is a quality player, the kind you can build around. I think we know that, and I think even this guy knows about it. Although he pretends like he does it because he's always covering something else. Kevin Brockway from the Gainesville Sun. What's up, Kevin?
No, I did. I just wrote the Bronaugh story an hour ago. It just seems like it's been one of those days where it's just been a very newsy day. I'm sure you saw the BOG stuff too. Lots of craziness today in terms of news-related activity for sure. And Florida also announcing the SEC opponents for basketball. Denzel Labradine is going to be coming back here as well. So lots going on. But Bronaugh is it's up to 13 commitments in the class, buddy. So it's shaping up to be a good class. A lot of 4 stars. I don't know if there are any 5 stars yet, but that could be coming. You never know. But I think it's a strong, solid class so far that Billy Napier's putting together. Certainly, and the second defensive back, Caden Hall from Milton, being the first. He's more of a safety. This guy's a corner, and as you mentioned, rapidly ascending. Played really well at kind of the Under Armour junior camp, and raised the stock there. So he's going to be one to watch in terms of how Billy Napier is continuing to build this thing.
Yeah, and I don't pretend to know a lot about him except what I read to you, and this is how we do recruit. Look, we're not going to be on 3 and have a full-time recruiting person on the staff. We can't do all that. They're in the industry, so a lot of people live by their rankings. but we do know a good player. If you by the numbers, we're pretty close to, and I think we can acknowledge the fact that Napier's not only have a good couple of weeks, but a great couple of weeks. And I've got the list of recruits and the commits here. We'll go over them in just a minute and talk about some of that stuff because it's hard not to talk about it when it's such a prominent thing. Look, I've said this before, I'll say it again. Everybody I know, the best coaches, the only guy who never has to emphasize it that much was Steve Spurrier, even he did later. But Urban Meyer told me a long time ago, it's all about the recruiting. Now, you got to coach them. We know that, too. You and I are kind of old school. Let's see them on the field and judge them and coach them. But
see how they develop, too, yeah. What about Dan Mullen? He wasn't too much into recruiting, right, either? That's what got him
No, it's a different game now. It's a money deal. You got to be able to match the cash. And apparently Florida has the cash to do it. I mean, I'm reading stories about how the South Carolina quarterback turned down $8 million. $8 million. And his father said, God bless him, you don't need $18 million. You're 19 years old, right? Yep. So, I mean, it's incredible what they're offering. And look, it's the going market. You may not like it, but it's what it is. Like when you buy a house, sometimes a 2-room shack in California is going to cost you $1 million. That's just the way it is. So we'll talk about all this later on. I've got that basketball schedule since you have a limited time. And thanks for coming on tonight. I know you're very busy. I appreciate you taking the time to do it with us tonight. And they've got
worries.
Here's the non-conference schedule, and they're in the process. Tell me if I'm wrong, of scheduling a neutral site Miami, Florida basketball game.
That's what we're hearing. Yeah, Jay Lucas, former Gator, is behind that. Yeah, and let's not forget too the jump man. I think especially with Oklahoma now joining the SEC, they're not going to pair with Oklahoma, and they played in North Carolina last year. So that would probably leave Michigan on the docket. And, our old friend Dusty May, who used to coach under Mike White, and they've got a lot going there too. So, yeah, it's going to be a bear of a non-conference schedule. But I think Todd has the confidence now and where the program is, hey, let's take on all comers here because, we're the defending national champions. And we've got certainly a lot coming back front court and a lot of, new look guys in the backcourt as well.
Here's what it looks like. Non-conference schedule. We know what the conference schedule looks like. It's bad enough. Arizona and Las Vegas. FSU, of course, is non-conference. Miami, they're saying in Jacksonville. We'll see where that's going to wind up. TCU in San Diego. Wisconsin, Providence in San Diego there.
Yeah.
At Duke, which I'm more thrilled about. SEC, ACC challenge. And then the big one, they play UConn in the Jimmy V Classic at the Garden. And like Todd said, you can't turn down a chance to play at the Garden. So that's a pretty hefty one.
Oh, no question. Yeah. And it's a great basketball atmosphere, as you and I both know, buddy, from our New York background, playing games at Madison Square Garden. Billy Donovan played a lot of games there, Mike White. So, yeah, it's always good to go back there. To the Mecca. I mean, it's a great recruiting tool. You've got a New York City point guard and Boogie Fland on the roster now, too, who I wrote about a little bit today. Mm-hmm. Guy that grew up playing at McCombs Dam Park, which is right next to Yankee Stadium there along the Harlem River. So he'll be feeling right at home there, and it'll be a great atmosphere for basketball. And certainly a lot of UConn fans there because of geography. It's just a shame when you look at some of these non-conference games. Arizona, a little closer to Vegas, right? You get Duke and Cameron, UConn and New York. You wish you'd have a little bit more of the kind of home games, but hopefully they can come back. And hopefully the following year you can get Duke coming to the O-Dome in the ACC, SEC. That'd be nice.
Yeah. So it's going to be a fun year. And, of course, we know the story of the returnees and the players they got. And I don't think people yet know how good their backcourt's going to be. I don't think people know just yet. But and I know the quality of players and the shooters and ball handlers they got. Plus, my gosh, I don't know. Nobody's got a front court any better than Florida. They're amazing.
Yeah. They got a lot of fouls to give too, which helps, right? Because you got hand-logged in, you got Chinyelu, you got Hauk, you got Condon, but I think Hauk is gonna flex and play a little of the three too. It's gonna be interesting, and then you're gonna really have something across that front, in terms of rebounding. with all three of those guys going at the same time, potentially. That's going to be a terror on the boards for opposing teams to match up with and size-wise. So that has a lot of good potential as well. But, yeah, Boogie Fland is a, we got a chance to talk to both Boogie and Xavier yesterday. Two guys that are both point guards that are going to try and coexist in the backcourt at the same time. That's going to be an interesting experiment. But two guys with a lot of flash in their game and, 2 5+ assists per game guys. So guys that, can move and share the basketball. You're hearing the right things right now in terms of the chemistry being good. We'll see. But that's going to obviously be a big key for Florida if they're going to make another run at this thing in 2025-26.
For those asking about Alice, she'll be along later in just a minute here. And also, I think I think people are looking at the football schedule a little differently now. And, we know now what's in front of them. I've talked about the scorched earth Saturdays you got coming up in games 2 through 6. They know what's ahead of them. I really like what we see coming back. We love DJ Lagway. I'll tell you, as a guy that I'm interested in, Jaluk. If you talk to Jaluk at all, Jawar Jaluk.
Yeah, we get a chance to talk to Jabbar every spring, of course.
He's done so much and
very highly regarded. Perhaps the most highly regarded position coach on the staff. And you look at the development of the running backs; it's hard to argue. And very good recruiter too, good reputation as a recruiter. So we will, like I said, certainly, with Jaden Baugh and Jacoby Jackson, you've got a pretty good starting point in terms of 2 running backs. And we'll see about, Kanan Daniels too, KD Daniels, what he can do a little bit.
Yeah.
Tran Webb coming off injury, but you got some depth there too in case some things go wrong. You got 2 more guys that I think have proven they could do a little bit in the SEC as well.
There's an interview online, which I heard today. I wasn't in that interview, but he knows his players. Did you know Montrell's mother was a rap artist?
How about that?
Yeah, she's very good apparently too. He can give you a dozen restaurants in New York. In New Orleans. And he knows New Orleans food. He knows his players. He said Tran Webb is one of the smartest guys I've ever been around. Really smart.
Tremendously intelligent. Yes.
Yeah, he talks about his players. He has knowledge of them.
Yeah.
And I wonder when he talked about it, what was going to happen with Jaden Baugh. He wasn't real effusive about him getting the ball every time and whatever. Yeah. It seems to me he's kind of throwing the bait out for you. Like, okay, you want this job? Let's see what you got. Let's see you earn it. So,
by the way, did you know that Tran Webb is D Webb's nephew?
I did.
Yes,
I did know that.
And he's, like you said, also I believe he graduated in 2.5 years, and tremendously intelligent kid.
Yeah.
Who has had some bad luck with injuries, but it'll be interesting to see if he comes back healthy, if he can kind of get back in the mix a little bit there. But I think it's going to be hard with the way Bond and Jacoby Jackson have established themselves. But the other thing about Trayon too that they like is he does the little things while he picks up the blitzes. He's a guy that will do the dirty work a little bit as well. And we're going to see, but I don't think anyone is doubting the talent of Jaden Baugh, as you and I were both high on him last year. His speed and the size combination, what he could do. Kick and return kickoffs too, right? He does a lot. He brings a lot to the table in terms of his, star in his play, catches passes for touchdowns. He was the all-SEC freshman. He and Lagway, certainly are the future building blocks in terms of potential. And we'll see if Dallas Wilson can live up to it too from what he did in the spring.
There's a lot about him out there. I heard Luke say that he could put together a 4x100 relay team of players. They mentioned Aiden Ball, whatever, that could challenge the track team. Now, the track team had world records, last year. They don't have an issue. But that's how much speed they could put off on the field, which I think is amazing, the speed that they got. And I'll tell you something else. The LSU game is on tonight. You guys are watching it. But you're flipping back and forth between the baseball game. I think time I look, I think LSU might have had 1-0. There's a play in this game that you forget how quick Ball, how fast Ball is. He gets the ball and outruns the secondary, LSU secondary, who's got a lot of speed. I thought I had to check that number. Who was that? I mean, this guy is not only big and strong, but he's very fast. And so they have a lot of great players there. So, all right. So Kevin, I'm going to have Allie on here in a little bit. I'm going to go over
Sure.
the recruits. I'll let you go early here in a minute because I promised you I would. But of the recruits they got, I'm not going to go over them all right now.
Sure.
Which one or two of them light you up?
I think certainly, this new one, for example, is pretty strong. I would have to say, and we'll see about Will Griffin because he's a quarterback. He's interesting. I watch him a little bit in the Under Armour game. How he's going to develop will be really key in terms of going forward. But I think there's still a lot more out there that they can obtain. I believe the 4-star, 5-star linebacker from Lakeland, his name escapes me as well. Another guy that's out there that's going to be interesting to see if Florida can secure it. That would be a really big time defensive get.
Unfair to ask you that question because I wouldn't be able to either, and I don't know. But I just say this: I saw Will Griffin throw today on video.
Yeah,
very nice arm, and good, very good accuracy. But I looked at him and thought, there's no way he has the escapability of DJ Lagway.
No, he took a lot of sacks in that Under Armour game. I was there. I think he took about 4 or 5 sacks. Yeah. But he's a tough kid because he kept on getting back up.
No, I'm not saying he's not got talent or good, but it's just a different kind of quarterback. I don't think in my offense, I want a guy who is a statue. I want someone who can move. And I'm not, now, in fairness to him, I haven't seen him. Maybe he can run, but you say you saw it. So we'll see what they got, but they're going to get.
Well, if you could protect the pocket passer, not every Spurrier quarterback had great wheels. You know what I mean? Like if you can protect them.
But that's true. That's true. They threw to a spot, different passing game. But all right, so we're going to get into this a little bit later on. I forget who did this. I hate to put these out there without actually saying who it was, but somebody ranked the SEC stadiums. And just recently, I'm not sure, it was a major site, and they had here's what they had. They had Tiger Stadium #1, can't argue with that. #2 was Neyland, which they get big crowds there for sure. #3 is Kyle Field. I keep hearing a lot of love from Kyle Field. I mean, look, it is a classic place, but I don't think it has anything. I don't think it's anything on Florida, and I sure don't think anything on the rest of it. I mean, Kyle Field is a good field, but Ben Hill Griffin is. I mean, my gosh, the rundown on that, they got finished 4th. Ben Hill finished 4th. Capacity we know is 88,000, 548. Some people get impressed by the number of people that can get in. The review says the Swamp is one of the most hostile environments in the entire country, bar none, whether it's Tom Petty's all back down or Gators chant. Gainesville, Florida's a place to be on Saturday. Opposition, good luck, etc., etc. Yeah, we know all that stuff. It says fans, and I think Jalukia said this in his interview today, and we heard it before by many people. It's the fact that they're on top of you. They're just on top of you, and that noise and that crowd is so much a part of this. And the hot, sticky place it is, it's a tough place to play. So I got to put Florida Field or Ben Hill Griffin up there a little higher than that. And the 5th, they got Auburn, they got Jordan-Hare, which Jordan-Hare is a very underrated place. It's a loud field. You have any thoughts about that?
I think a lot of that is stilted also as to who's playing well at the time. I think if you did that in the 90s, everyone would say that the Swamp was #1. So that's my opinion on it. You know what I mean? That's why certain programs are rated higher than others based on the success they're having right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Alabama, necessarily, for example, if they were the Alabama of the Mike DeBose era, they wouldn't be in the top 10.
Yeah, I think a lot to do with who's good, how good they're playing. Right, exactly. You're right.
Yeah, a lot of it's on that. And if Florida plays better this year and gets back to that elite level, I think that ranking will go up because there will be more excitement and more juice around the stadium just in general with regards to that. But you got to give Florida fans credit, too, for being loyal. They packed that place.
But a big part of it, their success. Yeah. They're very, very committed. Loyal. Let me do this quick commercial. Allie Peak is here. We're going to bring her on, let you go. But I want to tell folks, about our good friends at Meldon Law. They're not only very good lawyers, which of course is the main reason you want to go there. They're also great people, and they're tremendous Gator fans. We know all about Jeffrey Meldon, what he's done, his generosity, providing transportation for the band, his tremendous sponsorships he does of programs and issues and things all over the campus, and of course he's a veteran Gator fan. He knows Todd Golden. He's on top of the world after the Gators won the national championship. Great guy. He and his son both. So I encourage you, if you'd like to do business with a Gator and a really good outfit, people who can steer you in the right direction, whether it's getting a review of a case that you're stuck on or finding something new, find someone new. Go to Meldon Law. They won't back down. It's been a while since we've seen this person. She's in the witness protection program, I do believe. Let's see if we can bring her on and find out what she's been up to. Allie Pete Wilbur is one of our favorites. Say good evening. Hello to, is she gone already? Yes, she is. Are you gone? Hey, Allie, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good to see you and good to have you on the show.
Good to see you.
We missed you.
I know. I've missed you guys. It's been a busy summer so far for us, and actually we're getting ready to leave again on Saturday for the mountains, but all the kid things have been going on. Lots of trips. Actually, I had a sick kid a couple weeks ago. All the things.
Are you what part of the mountains and where?
It's actually a 2-part trip. My dad rented a house in Ellijay, Georgia.
North Georgia? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's right near Blue Ridge. And he rented a house that fits all of us. I'm one of 7 kids, and 5 of 7 have children. And so we're all going to stay together. So that's for 5 days. And then Eric and I are taking the kids and my sister and her husband and their kids, and we're going to Highlands, North Carolina, which is my favorite place.
Oh yeah, no, Highlands Cashew all over in there. Yeah.
So we're going there for a few days afterwards. Because that's my little slice of paradise, my place where I love to be. But I've never been to Blue Ridge, so I'm sure it's going to be wonderful. Yeah.
My wife has a place in Waynesville, really beautiful place. And she calls it a cabin. I said, that's not a cabin. That's a castle. It's beautiful. Right up the mountains. You look across the valley, you can see where Dolly Parton's place is right there in Sevierville. But it's just a fabulous place and such a gorgeous place. And, you know, I heard someone say today in vacations, we go the opposite. If we're beach people, we go to the mountains. If we're mountain people, we go to the beach. You have all the beach that you want. And
exactly. I mean, I love the beach. We go to the beach on a regular basis, but I want to take my kids and expose my kids to something different than they see, on a regular basis.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. That's when I was a youngster. Our family all went to Maggie Valley, which is not too far from Waynesville.
Yeah.
So, Allie, what in the world is going on in Gainesville? My goodness gracious. More news today. They signed the 4-star corner from Orlando, Windermere.
Yeah.
He committed from Nebraska. Now he joins a really outstanding class. What is going on in Gainesville?
Yeah, I mean, so they're on a recruiting heater, first of all. And this is something we've seen the last couple of years from Napier in June. He really does love to stack those commitments. They do such a great job getting people in for official visits and getting them, to love what they're seeing enough that they want to commit, kind of on the spot. CJ Bronaugh is who committed today. This is going to be the 3rd year in a row Billy Napier has signed the fastest kid in the state of Florida, which I think is pretty cool. Speed kills, right? Especially in the SEC. And, he's a 4-star guy. I think this is huge because a lot of fans were concerned about what Florida's DB recruiting was going to look like when Will Harris left. He went to Miami. He was seen as somebody that was a great recruiter and that players were really bought in on. But I got to tell you, Duran has been incredibly impressive. He's gotten several guys since he's been here. He's only been here 4 months. And this was a really, really big pickup. It's really helpful when several of the guys we've gotten in the last week pick us over Florida State, because not only are we getting a recruit we want, they're not getting somebody that they want. And that's just a really nice 1-2 punch. And obviously you're going to have to hold on to this class, and that'll be based on one on the field performance, but probably even more than that, how NIL ends up shaking out. That is just such a factor in recruiting. But I do think it's a really smart strategy to get these guys in and hold on to them than to try and get them to commit to you or flip to you in the fall. I think that's a harder road. And so I like the strategy that this staff has.
I'll talk to you about speed in just a second, but first I want to get back to the importance of what you just talked about there, holding on to guys.
Mm-hmm.
I have a hard conversation with Shane Matthews every year, and Shane is one of these old school guys that I say to him, Shane, you're like to get off the lawn guy that I ought to be. You know, you got to understand, not caring about recruiting is 1980 stuff, okay? You got to care about it and know something about it, although we're not on 3 and we don't know everything about it, but you got to be aware of what's going on when things are happening, because it's the lifeblood. He says, I don't care till they sign up and they're here and they play.
Well, I think that's a very former player mentality, because Eric and I have this conversation all the time too, where he's like, I do not care until they put the uniform on. But it's the lifeblood of what we do, right? And it is, it's how you predict the future path for, your team. And so it is important, but I do see where he's coming from. It's totally the former player aspect, which is definitely like, we don't care till they're here. These are teenagers that haven't proven anything to us.
It's a different deal today with the market and the money and the paying. No, it's just a lot to it going on. And I don't pretend to know it, but I've got to make myself somewhat aware of what's going on, because there's something going on right now. And I'll ask you, what's changed for Billy in the last year besides winning 4 in a row, besides DJ Lagway? I wrote a tweet today about how great it was to see this program turn around and how things are going. And DJ Lagway's dad retweeted it. Not that it's any big deal, except the fact that obviously he knows what his son's role has been in this. Huge, no doubt about it. Not just what he did on the field, but his work as an ambassador and turning down opportunities. Do you see the Seller story today? His dad said he turned down $8 million to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Was that a good decision?
Yeah. I mean, that's such a hard question. Was that a good decision? Because we have to see how this plays out. I love in this era of football when somebody is loyal to the team that they're on.
We love it, but it's not our money. It's not our money. We love it.
It's not our money. It's not our money. And that is hard because you're one injury away from never playing again. But I love the loyalty. I think it's more rare today than it used to be. I just want this stuff to kind of rein itself in a little bit, right? Like your kids shouldn't have to look at turning down millions of dollars or play for the school that he wants to play for and that recruited him. And I don't love that they're even put in that position, and time will only tell if that was the right decision. But I will tell you, I love hearing that. If you're a South Carolina fan, that makes you love him even more.
It does. It does. And you love hearing this. You love the DJ Lagway stories you hear. And it really makes you feel good. And I understand. On the other hand, if he took $8 million and went somewhere, I couldn't blame him for it. Okay. Because that's life-changing money. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And, but I love that. I think what's important to remember, and you could speak to this because you talk about it a lot on your podcast, Peek Inside the Gators, and the fact that you've got these players who you got a no-star basketball team, right? That won a national championship. How good a story is that right now? How well does that resonate? Now coming back, they're going to be favored to win it again.
Yeah.
And they built this program overnight with this whole thing, and it isn't on the court. It wasn't like he went out and got 5 stars. And then you got this football program who was stymied. It seemed like even you and I talked about off the record last year a lot about, is Billy going to be able to turn this thing around? And quite frankly, I said it, others said it, about 6 games to go. It's like he's a dead man walking.
Yeah.
There's no way he can turn this thing around. And
Yeah.
was wrong, and he did. I
Yeah.
guess he did, didn't he?
I mean, he absolutely did towards the end of the season. Is it sustained? I don't know. We'll have to see when we kick off in the fall. But the turnaround was incredible, and he was left for dead. And honestly, I don't blame any of us that felt that way, because that's the year 3, and you have the showing that we did the first few games. It is disappointing, but the fact that he was able to hang on to the locker room, kind of come up with a us against the world mentality, backs against the wall, and then pull out the second half of the season that they did was incredibly impressive, and had to have required a lot of internal changes. We might not know exactly what those internal changes are, but you can't convince me that there weren't some massive back to the drawing board moments that happened between that first half of the season and that second half of the season. And I hope that it continues. We've said this for the last 3 years, but he continues to out recruit his record, which is a difficult thing to do. You finish in the top 10 nationally, in the AP poll, the end of the year, then you should finish in the top 10 recruiting wise. But it's an anomaly when you're finishing in the top 10 recruiting wise and you're finishing outside the top 10 at those end of the year polls. So he is out recruiting his record, which is incredibly impressive. And hopefully this is the year that maybe that end of the year record kind of aligns more with where they're finishing recruiting wise. Somebody commented Ron Roberts is the difference maker. I do think that there was probably a switch from Austin Armstrong to Ron Roberts in terms of who had more control in the defensive room. But everything we're saying is that it's so what he's doing right now is so impressive, and we're going to see if it sustains once August happens.
Yeah, I think you're right. Was it there all along? We just didn't see it. Was it because
it's a building? It wasn't there all along because we weren't winning. But was this what you were building up to, and we just needed to be a little bit more patient, maybe?
Yeah, but Gator fans have not been patient yet.
No.
They have showed up and they've been boisterous, supportive. They were a big part of that. The LSU game is on right now, and if you listen to it and watch it, the crowd was really loud. Mm-hmm. They got 7 sacks, I think, on Nussmeier, or 8 maybe on that game, and the crowd was a big part of that. And supposedly they were good last year and going to be really good this year. So I keep saying, I see some people picked them LSU first overall. Well, let's see whether or not Brian Kelly can back it up. I mean, his record's not that good. He's lost some big games. He's got the most experienced quarterback in Nussmeier. He says he's got the best roster he's ever had. What does he have to do to sort of make his point there, Allie? What does he have to do in terms of wins to really own up to that high salary he's getting?
So I think he's got to win at least 9. But I think more than the number, it's got to be how he looks. If you're in every game, but you only win 8.
You're talking LSU now, right?
Oh, are you talking? Nussmeier, LSU. I thought you were meaning
LSU. I'll come back to Nussmeier. I'll come back to Florida.
Okay.
LSU, what does he got to do?
What does LSU have to do? Well,
they got to make a run. They got to be in the playoffs.
They have to make a run. They got to. I think LSU's got to make the playoffs. I think
they got to win 10 or 11 at least.
10 gets them to the playoffs more than likely. It should more than likely. And I do think that that's where they have to go. I think that's the position they're in. I think they were in a better position when Kelly took over from a recruiting standpoint than Florida was in. I also think their fans have an even shorter leash than Florida fans do. And I think they're paying Nussmeier a lot of money. And I think they've got to win at least 10.
LSU, aside from Georgia, is as big a rival as Florida has now.
Yeah.
They finally turned it around for 5 in a row last year. Mm-hmm. But this is a big game every year. It's
a huge fun rivalry. I feel like there's kooky things that happen in it a lot of the time. Yeah. It's their fan base is fun and wild and crazy, and it's always kind of magic when these two teams play. This will be at night in Baton Rouge. It'll be a hot and muggy one because it happens way earlier than it normally does. We usually get this game in mid-October. We're going to get it the third week of September. It's like September 14th, something around there. And I actually am kind of glad we get them earlier in the season. I think that they're going to still be figuring some things out, like, who Nussmeier's throwing the ball to, things like that, which they might have worked out by game 8, but they might not have worked out yet by game 3. But I love that rivalry. I'm going to go to that game. I encourage anybody to go watch a game in Tiger Stadium at night. There is no the real Death Valley, right? There's that's one of my very favorite rivalries.
Did you go there a lot when you were coming up as a Gator fan? You were young?
Well, not until I got to college. I think my parents kind of knew that wasn't necessarily the place to take a young kid to.
Yeah.
But I went two times when I was in college. I've been several times since then. And I always joke that it's really good. We only play there every other year because you need about that amount of time to recover after you go to a game there. But it is a very cool place. I put it as 2 to the Swamp. It is intense. It is an advantage, a home field advantage. It's a cool rivalry.
There's a new poll out talking about what the best venues are. I forget who did it. One of the bigger sites.
Mm-hmm.
We got LSU first and Florida fourth. They have ahead of them. They have Texas A&M,
which is crazy. I've been to that stadium. I don't agree with that.
I don't understand that because it's bigger. I don't understand why. Anyway, so that's that. Let me talk to you about scorched earth for a second.
Okay.
You brought it up. I've got this marked on my calendar. I got it on mine. I've written about it and talk about it. And we all know every SEC team has got a tough stretch. There's no question. You just aren't going to get around it. But I as Exhibit A, Your Honor, I give you just mentioned Florida LSU, Game 3, September 13th, 6:30 p.m., night in Baton Rouge, okay? If that's not enough, that's enough by itself, okay? They're going to be crazy there.
Mm-hmm.
Now you turn right around the next week and you go to Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, not the same atmosphere, but still a tough opponent. They'll be underdogs to Miami. Miami's got the new quarterback. It's supposed
familiar face for us.
Yeah, right. So we'll see. So, you got Miami. That's one. Florida will probably be a slight underdog. Then, and what I think will be the biggest game, they got an open day, and they sure need it. And then they come back home on October 4th. And it's the first time in history the team will play there is the Texas Longhorns for the first time in history. No doubt number 1 in the country when they come in. So I have to play the number 1 team in the country there on October 4th in a game that hasn't been announced on times I don't believe yet. And then, by the way, don't go to sleep on the next week because you got to go to Texas A&M the next week. Now that is a brutal 4-game stretch.
It is. It is. It is. It's a tough. And I have different thoughts on why each game matters in there. LSU, I think it is such a rivalry. It's early in the season. You can set the tone for the rest of the year by going into Baton Rouge and winning. Miami, I think, is a revenge game. I think a large part of what put Billy Napier on the hot seat at the beginning of last year was how we looked coming out first game of the season against Miami versus how they looked. We looked flat. We looked like we hadn't spent the previous 9 months practicing, and it didn't feel like we were even in it for like 1 single minute. So we need revenge on that. I expect more Florida fans than Miami fans in the stands. I think that DJ Lagway is better than Carson Beck. I think that really, truly, Florida beats Carson Beck last year at Georgia if DJ Lagway doesn't go down. So he doesn't scare me. I don't think he has the weapons around him there that he had around him at Georgia. And he was not really that intimidating there. So, I think that they have to win that one. Texas is not a must win for me by any way.
Not a must win, but it's still a huge game.
It's a huge game. And, Arch Manning and DJ Lagway are the future of this league. Seeing them next to each other is going to be interesting. I do think DJ Lagway is more seasoned than Arch is. He got more playing time last year than Arch did. And so it might be really good for the Gators that we get them relatively early in the season. It might be a different Arch by the end. But I look at this as kind of like a measuring stick game. Like how close are we to being where we want to be? This game will kind of tell us that. I've talked a lot about the Texas A&M game the last couple of weeks because I think it's a bellwether game. I don't think it's the most important game Florida plays. But I think it's a bellwether game. I think if
What do you mean by bellwether?
So Florida is either going to be coming in with some huge wins under their belt, and they're going to be riding that high, and they're going to go into a stadium against a team that I think were more talented than, but a stadium with a known reputation, and they're either going to have to not slip up, beat the team you should beat after you've had these big wins, or they're going to have dropped a game or two already at that point, and they're going to have to show, okay, can we circle the wagons? Can we pull ourselves up by our bootstraps? And can we take care of business against a team we should? Because we always talk about how the first step is beat the teams you're supposed to beat. Right. And then you worry about beating the teams you aren't supposed to beat. Florida can't drop games this season to teams that they are more talented than.
Like Miami. We cannot lose to Miami.
Correct. I would say Texas, Georgia, and LSU are probably the only three teams on paper that are more talented than the Gators.
And I'm okay with them losing those 3 games.
And so am I. But if you lose to anyone else, you are losing to a team with less talent than you have. And that's where people would start to get upset, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right on that for sure. All right, let's talk about coaches on the staff. I don't know them really well like I used to when I could call on the phone and talk to them about other things. But I'm studying, and I'm trying to learn more about Jamar Jalou.
Okay.
Because he fascinates me, and the kind of players he's turning out. Joe with Jaden Bow, and don't forget the 2 other guys he got in there, world-class players, and he's getting them out there and getting them on the field and get results, and he seems to he's the associate head coach. He's respected by everybody. He coached in high school in New Orleans. He got to Louisiana Tech, got his work out here, been here 4 years, and the interview I heard was fascinating. First of all, he said he's the biggest trash talker on the team. He said,
"Okay, I really like it."
Secondly, he has a lot of interesting things to say about music. He says that I didn't know this. Montreal's mother is a rap artist. Did you know that? Montreal
I had no idea. No, I had no idea. Okay.
He knows it quite well. He is a shoe fiend. He got all kinds of shoes. He's got like Jordans. I mean, he's got all kinds of shoes.
Okay. He's in the right spot for Jordans.
Yeah. He says he goes into his shoe rack, depending on the kind of day it is, he picks his shoes. And he picks his music based on that.
Okay.
And a tough, hard-nosed day, he puts on the black Jordans or whatever, anyway, he just has a lot. And he knows his players quite well.
Yeah.
And he was asked by somebody, I think these are all written out questions, and it was one of the best written out question interviews I've ever heard. It's on there now on, I think it was Florida Victorious. So I just happened to listen to it. And he said that he said he was asked if Florida speed, how good Florida speed was, and he said it was great. And they said, what if you is good enough to run a 4x100 and beat the track team? He said, I think they are.
Wow.
Really? Yeah.
Wow.
Aiden was one of them. Aiden Bell was one of them. What am I saying wrong? What's Aiden's last name? Help me out. I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, Mizell, yeah. My former compatriot for Hubert Mizell, Aiden Mizell. And he mentioned a couple others. So he said, I think we could take him. So he's got great speed.
Yeah.
He's got certain persona about him that's obviously likable. He produces on the field. I'm wanting to know more about this, and I want to get to know him. But, man, that running back room is as good as there is.
Yeah, and, I think, one, they seem incredibly unselfish. We don't ever see any griping about sharing carries. I think it's smart because if you look at how running backs are used in the NFL now, these guys are going to have much longer careers having split reps than having been a battering ram for 4 years and taking all of it. But it's like each one is better than the next. But they're also humble and quiet. They don't make the news. We don't hear anything about, their extracurricular activities. Like they just are hard-nosed, keep their head down. We can rely on this room. And, there's a few rooms I think we can say that about, but I would say that running back is probably, if you had to say what room do you have the absolute utmost confidence in it, it would be the running back room.
I see running back, and it's going to be wide receivers because they are loaded with talent. I can't even. People have gone to sleep a little bit on this team in terms of their receivers because they've got world-class players there. And when we start seeing them, very impressive. Let me read to you in our final couple of minutes here. Thanks for hanging with me here. The latest pickups, latest recruits. I can't get back to the fact that it's such a critical time. All of a sudden, they are blowing their both off of it right now. You've been talking about it. I've been talking about it, and now it's happening. So they signed Bronaugh. I did not know he was that fast. You say he's the fastest guy on the team?
He's the fastest kid, a high school kid in the state of Florida right now.
Wow. How about that?
Well, the fastest high school football recruit in the state of Florida. Wow. I believe he won the 100 and the 200 the last 2 years in Class 1A for Napier High School. He's fast.
Wow. I mean, but they on that 4x100,
Right?
Gosh, yeah. So, and I don't know why he went to Nebraska in the first place, but he did apparently.
Yeah.
Maybe with money, I don't know. So he's the newest one that just dropped, and everybody's excited. Then you get into, I hear a lot about this Jarrell McCoy.
Yeah.
Guy who's the 4 and sometimes a 5-star.
Yeah, ESPN has him as a 5-star. I've been joking. We'll go with ESPN's rankings since it's 5-star.
Yeah. And they just got Marquez Daniel, the wide receiver, another one.
Yep.
We talked about Carson Baker a little bit, I think, who was obviously a 4-star running back.
Mm-hmm.
Don't see many 4-star running backs coming to Florida. Then we know about Justin Williams, who's from Gainesville, and what a great player he is.
Yeah.
And you got a 4-star safety in Caden Hall.
Yeah.
And a 4-star offensive tackle and a guy whose name I cannot pronounce, Tyler
Chukium.
Mm-hmm. And a 3-star tight end and Kuka Almine, I hope I said that right, and a 3-star offensive tackle in Chancellor Campbell, and a 3-star interior lineman in Geneva Carr, and a 3-star offensive tackle, the huge guy, Javari Luca. So, and not to mention they've gotten our Will Griffin. So, I mean, they are cleaning up, Alec.
Yeah. Yeah, they this has been I would say potentially historic run that the Gators have been on the last couple of weeks. When you think about a month ago, they had one commit, right? Will Griffin from Jesuit High School, quarterback. Yeah. One commit in this class. They were outside the top 75. I think right now they're ranked 13th. I don't know how often they adjust those. I would assume that Florida is going to be pretty close to moving into the top 10. I have it on pretty good accord. We're going to get somebody else pretty darn soon as well. Maybe help on the defensive side of the ball. This is a great run. Somebody commented that Billy Gonzalez doesn't get the credit he deserves, and I agree with that. When Billy Gonzalez, you feel the same way as I do about
me. I tell you that.
He gets it from me too, but he also gets the exact opposite from the internet world on a regular basis. But he just recruits and develops talent, and he does it with high school players. He does it with transfers. He's done it over the course of his career, every single place he's been. I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. I'm so glad he's at Florida. I just think he is such a good wide receivers coach. This class continues to show that.
Puts people in the league, as they say.
Yes.
Right? And you want to play in the NFL, you go play for Billy. He sent 4 of them 2 years ago to the NFL. So
think about what he did just for Florida with Florida's transfers the last 3 years. Think about DK and even Badger, who didn't get drafted, but he's already been talked about how he's going to make an impact on the team because he's much better than they realized. Ricky Pearsall. I mean, those are just the last couple of years with guys he only spent a year with, and he completely turned around their future careers.
Good point. They all talk about him and the development they had under him. Mm-hmm. So that's at the highest level possible.
Yeah.
So you think they got it right on defense with their coaches? And let's talk about the staff. Do you think what does it need sprucing up a little bit?
I'm interested to see where they are at now. For a long time we weren't I was not a huge Rod Sale fan. I didn't think Florida's offensive line looked great, but Jake Slaughter's an All-American. Obviously, Torrance was an All-American as well. They got Slaughter coming back, 4 or 5 starters returning. This is going to be the best offensive line we've seen probably since the Pouncey brothers. So, he can get a break from me this year for a little bit. But I like where Florida staff sits right now. I'll be interested to see when the season kicks off if we still feel that way. I think Ron Roberts is the right guy on the defense. We're going to see what responsibilities were his and what responsibilities were Austin Armstrong's probably really quickly, because if we don't miss a beat from where we ended the season last year, we know what happened then mid-season. But I like where we're at. I'll be interested. Chris Couch departed for Houston, our special teams coordinator. I'll be interested to see if special teams continues to make steps in the right direction. Year 4, we really have to have the right number of guys on the field. We really have to start. I think they made the transition where it wasn't a liability nearly as much last year, but it still wasn't a weapon. And I would love to see our special teams become a weapon for us. It's great that they're not a liability, and that should be the bare minimum. And they were a liability at some points in previous seasons, but I'm ready to see us take that next step for making it a weapon. And I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt that maybe Billy felt like it was just more important to worry about getting the offense and the defense right before he worried about that third phase. But I think it's time to put a little bit of effort and emphasis in there. You can take a page from Urban's book. You can win ball games with great special teams.
Yeah, the story of his was that it was Skip Holtz when he was coaching Skip Holtz, and they were having problems with special teams, and Holtz said, "You become the special teams coach." Me? Why me? And of course that became his mantra.
Yeah,
he says if you play special teams, you got to play special teams to get on the field, basically.
Yeah.
And when I talked to him about it recently, last year, he said, almost the head coach is got to be the guy, because you got to, when you go to your running back and say, I need you on special teams, and if you don't have the cloud of the head coach,
you're going to say, I'm not playing special teams.
Right, exactly, yeah.
You got to have guys falling over themselves to play special teams. And you're right. It starts from the top down. And I think Billy says the right things about special teams. I don't, whether or not he believes them, I don't know. I don't know enough about, I haven't spent enough time with him to know.
It's not an emphasis. It doesn't appear to be an emphasis.
It doesn't appear to be an emphasis. It's generally at the end of practice. I love it at the beginning of practice. Yeah. But I do think there's kind of a culture shift in general in college football, a little bit away from caring about special teams and more. Now the teams that care about it almost stand out, as opposed to you had to have good ones to be a winner. So maybe part of that's where we are, but this is a perfect opportunity then, if most people aren't caring about it, to be the team that does and let it be the difference maker for you. But TBD on that. If somebody wrote, am I going to give Billy a break at OC? No, I'm not going to give Billy a break at OC. I mean, he's the OC, so we're going to see how it goes this year. But I do think you've got an offense that on paper should be one of the absolutely best in the country. You're going to have a top 5 offensive line. You have an embarrassment of riches at running back. You have the top quarterback in the country potentially, and you've got 87 bajillion wide receivers that can fly. So on paper, this offense should put up a ton of points. And if it doesn't, the only thing you'll be able to point to is play calling. So hopefully we're going to go in. All these pieces are the pieces Billy wanted. These are the guys he recruited. It's going to run his offense like a dream, and Florida's going to put up 50 points a game, and we're going to win a lot of football games. So, I'll give him a break in that. Like, I hope that's what's going to happen. I'm excited to see if that's the course. But if it's not what happened, I do think that it's going to be pretty easy to point to what the problem is.
I think what you're saying is you'd like to see the special teams become an emphasis. And now with the new guy, he's not the new guy because he coached special teams.
Yeah.
Also last year. Let's see, just getting the right number of players on the field. It's not a passing grade.
It was an improvement last year. So we were willing to take that because it was a step in the direction last year. And I do think Joe Houston had a lot to do with that, even though Chris Couch is who, wore the special teams title. But yeah, I would like to see it become a weapon. I think Florida Trey Smack is great, right? We have a new punter coming in from Michigan who is, I'm told, incredibly talented, has a really strong leg. And I think we have just an absolute ridiculous amount of speed on this team. Like, there are people who can do what Chris Rainey and Jeff Demps did in terms of blocking kicks and punts and stuff like that. So maybe we'll get to see that. It would be awesome.
It would be. Someone said two things I will go out with. First of all, someone told me that who was in the room when the recent group of people came. They had 40 recruits up there.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he heard it all. He said it was unbelievable. He said, buddy, it was like all 40 wanted to be Gators.
Yeah.
There's something going on there that is somehow resonating with these guys.
I think it's the relationships. I think that relationships still matter in this NIL era. And I think Billy is a genuinely good person.
Yeah.
And he genuinely makes every effort to connect with these families. I'm sure that some of these recruiting trips are incredibly transactional at some schools. They just talk about the money. They, it's surface level. I think Billy cares about these kids and he cares about these families. And I think that genuinely shows to them. So, and I do think that Florida Victorious has done a fantastic job. So when those numbers kind of make sense for these families, if the difference maker is the relationship, Napier's going to get the nod every time because he is a genuine guy.
Yeah. Great stuff, Allie. And tell folks how they can get a hold and see your podcast, A Peek Inside the Gators.
On YouTube, A Peek Inside Gators Football, and on Twitter, it's Allie_Peek. If you followed my old account, it was hacked, so this is a new account. And kind of starting over there, but lots of recruiting videos out. Should have some interviews soon, and getting ready for the season. I feel like we're in talking season right now. We talk about all the things we want to see, but very, very soon we'll have some real football to watch.
SEC Media Days coming over pretty quick. Yeah, well, listen, anything big coming up that you can talk about?
Not anything, remarkable, but lots and lots of interviews coming. And I do have it on some pretty good accord that we've got a couple commitments that are going to be coming very soon of guys that are going to make people really happy. And
same thing that you did. Yes, exactly.
So
well, you're more on top of it than me. I follow what you say. You're my recruiting expert. Allie, great to see you. Thanks. Great stuff. Okay.
Good to see you. Have a good night, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, my friend. Take care.
All right.
Allie is one of the best. Follow her. If you're not, watch her podcast. I want to thank you for listening and watching the program tonight. Good show. Lots of folks getting closer to football. You can feel it, can't you? And we appreciate your participation in the show. Thank you for our sponsors. Earlier, we talked about Meldon Law and the great Jeffrey Meldon and their whole team over there. And Titan MRI and Imaging is also a very strong co-sponsor here. We appreciate what they do. It's now called Titan MRI and Imaging. You're probably just Titan MRI. Acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Colorio started Highfield in 1997. Now he's back. They have 3 locations to serve you, 2 in Gainesville with Partler Avenue location and now the Millennium Center, and 1 in Lake City serving all of Columbia County and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI Imaging offers the same great customer service, except insurance now, or you can go through their convenient self-pay option if you'd like to do that. Also, Titan MRI Imaging offers MRIs, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, easy scheduling, lots of options. If you want to go there at night, they'll make you a special evening reservation. So they'll take care of you there, whatever you need. Also, no ERs, no hospitals. Coming soon to Ocala, better serve Marion County and the surrounding areas. Titan MRI Imaging. Check them out. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. And we're back again on Monday night. Don't forget to listen to Rob Brown every morning, SEC Sidelines. Have a great evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Actually, it's not true. I'll be back tomorrow night.